Hey, it's Brooke and Jeffrey in the morning.
You can scroll it later, or better, you can listen live to Brooke and Jeffrey every weekday morning. Big fun, real moments, the laughs that make your day. Your station, your city, right now. That's called radio. In Seattle, that's called Moving 92.5.
So traffic on the I-405 after work would be like 2 hours. But if we could spend 1 to 2 hours just like doing something north, then we can cut our commute to 30 minutes. So then it was like, okay, how can we optimize our time? How can we try to make money on top of our jobs? And yeah, we got into flipping for a while.
Most couples don't talk about money until it becomes a problem. But what happens when you face it from day one? Today on the Glen Gilbert Connection, we are talking relationships and finances. With me is what the kids call a DINK couple. Dual income, no kids yet. Natalie and Keldon Fischer, young newlyweds navigating debt, rising costs, and the pressure to build a life in an economy that isn't exactly cheering them on. They're figuring out how to budget, communicate, and finance in a team in real time. If you're trying to get your money under control or build a healthier financial relationship, this conversation is going to give you something useful. Thank you both for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited. So before we jump in, just tell everybody, if you can, just a little history, how you guys met and what that first financial discussion looked like, if that's okay.
How about you take how we met?
Oh, how we met. That's an interesting story. So we did not use dating apps to meet, but we did meet on the internet, you could say. And the journey began on Snapchat, of all places. I'm not a big Snapchat guy.
That doesn't sound too good, how he puts it.
Better than the dating apps, but still internet stuff.
What happened was we both were students at UW Tacoma, and you can post stories on like a location basis. So if you all went to UW Tacoma on the campus, you could post to it. And so I posted a little thing, and apparently he saw it and had asked his roommates about me.
Yeah. And it turned out that one of my roommates was best friends with her.
Oh, nice.
And we secretly worked together to have her come over more often so I could meet her. And like 6 months later, we started dating. And she thought she made the first move. So he was definitely mistaken.
Yeah.
And then, after that, we had like a year left, or half a year left of school before we graduated. After graduation, we lived apart for about a year, maybe. I think it was a year. It could have been a year and a half, something like that. And then afterwards, we wanted to move in together. And one route that most individuals go, and we end up not doing, is renting a place together. We skipped the renting phase altogether, and instead we looked to buy our first home together before we were married. And do you want to talk about that?
I just want to go a little bit backward. Like the first financial discussion.
I was going to say, this is a huge financial decision for a young couple that's just dating.
Yeah.
How did you guys decide? I'm sorry, I'm going completely off script. How did you guys decide to do this big step?
Well,
financial step.
For me, actually, it was we both lived apart. We both were saving our own money. He was paying off his student loans, but I had been upfront about him about wanting to build home equity. And so I actually went through the process of getting pre-approved myself first. And then he said, oh, I'm interested in buying a home too. And so we're like, well, I guess if we ever split up, we can just sell the house and split the equity. Is just kind of getting our parents on board. It was only his grandma who thought it was really weird, but I mean, we got their blessing and we were able to, do that.
Were they helping you guys financially,
No.
or just wanted to get some buy-in?
They would come to the open house with us to give us some opinions about the properties that we're viewing. We were in the buying process for a home for over a year. I'm so happy that our realtor was willing to keep up with us. There was so many times where
we thought we were going to break up.
I know about that.
It's a really stressful process in itself.
I did.
Yeah, it's a stressful process just trying to find a home, let alone sharing the finances and looking together and making sure everyone's on the same page with that.
Yeah, one of the biggest issues was what she wanted in a home and what I wanted in a home was completely different. Her standards, I felt, were like a lot less than mine, and the issue was that there
That's
was
questionable.
no every single place we would go to. And I was like, this is a great place. We should put in an offer. And I would look at the place and I'm like, no.
I saw potential. He wanted like turnkey housing, willing to pay a premium.
She wants this sort of thing where she's going to like, oh, I'm going to rebuild the place from the ground up. But she's not the type of person who's willing to put down tooth and nail to get these things done. She wants me to take care of it. And I'm like, I'm not going to take care of this.
It's just what I grew up with. Like my parents, they built houses from the ground up.
So you've already got some experience.
Yeah. Like I was 9, 10 years old, painting houses, putting cabinets together.
Okay.
So I was willing to settle for less. But then the Kirkland condo came up, and that was something we both agreed on. But we really we had the same financial page because we had to get pre-approved together, meaning we both had to share our assets, liabilities, our stocks, cash, debt. And so we both had a full picture of what we both had before we were even married because we had to go through that process.
And you guys were like late 20s, right?
I think
We have
I mean, at the time when you
a 5-year gap. I met her, I was 24 and she was 20-ish, something like that. 25? Yeah, I was 25. You were 20?
I was 20.
And how far into it did you guys decide to like, hey, let's buy a house together?
2 years after graduation.
Yeah, 2 years after graduation. And I think
Or actually
was
a year and a half after
year and a-
graduation, maybe.
Yeah.
So you guys were dating for about a year and a half before you decided to buy a place together.
And this was during COVID time, or it was very close to COVID. So
Like
Okay,
2019.
wait. So we started dating December 2018. We bought our house July 2020, to clarify the time.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I do this. I'm like, I don't know when I met my girl. I'm like, and she's like, it is exactly this date and this time and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. So, thanks, babe. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just giving context.
Yeah.
So we started dating December 2018, and we bought our house July 2020.
Oh, wow. Oh, so it really was a process, which can be stressful in the relationship as it is, let alone like we were splitting this.
yeah, and another thing was that around this time is when we decided to start joining our finances in a sense. So we didn't fully join them in where like all of our money goes into one account, but we did have 8 joint accounts, and this was partly for the home itself, paying for the mortgage.
Shared expenses.
But it also applied to date nights and things like that. So we wanted to be able to set some money aside because Natalie always gives me shit about this, but when we first started dating, it's the biggest thing she brings up in every single, oh my gosh, the first financial issue we've ever had was I'm the type of guy who, when it comes to dates, I like to do everything 50-50. It doesn't matter how early in the relationship it is, it's always 50-50.
It's very progressive of you.
Yes,
He didn't pay
very
for
progressive.
our first date. And let's just say I will always be mad about that.
But you married him. You love him.
I
You decided to
did.
go in on a home together before marrying him. So there was something he did that we were like, I'll let that slide.
Yeah. I
Okay,
guess
we're-
when the going gets tough, like
Yeah.
it matters. Like
So you saw the relationship and then the financial stuff kind of just naturally formed. Because I'm really
I'll
curious on
say-
how that first discussion
Yeah,
occurred. Like, oh, we're going to buy a house together. Okay. I mean, I'd be like, I'm not, unless I know the person really well, unless we are in some, strong type of relationship, marriage. I'm like, oh, that's like serious stuff.
I was really motivated to buy a house myself. And I feel like he just...
I was less motivated to buy a place. I was actually under the assumption I want to rent first. So that was always my idea growing up. It's like I want to rent my own place, and then because like I just wanted to live in the city, I wanted to have like be near like city things. Like my favorite location to go travel is Japan, just because of the fact that I like to be in the city. And growing up, I was always in the forest area, so this idea of renting a place over there was just what I was interested in. But Natalie was saying that she doesn't want to rent. The idea, don't want to say it was stupid to rent, but the idea that by renting, you are giving someone money and you're not putting any of that money towards your future, versus buying a home, you're getting equity, and that's going to grow over time, hopefully, depending on the market you're in. Some states isn't the case, but in Washington, it seems like the property we bought ended up going up in value, which was good to know.
Sure.
But looking back at that time, I mean, the interest rates were low.
I was gonna
And
just
so
say.
it was comparable.
Right.
Like renting versus like putting a down payment of $50K together and buying a home would come out to be the same amount as rent, but if things got bad, we could sell it. And it's like, oh, we didn't waste our money and waste our time here.
So
that was my thinking.
Yeah, 2020 is about the time you bought it, right? That was like the height of the COVID, but also interest rates were really low. I'm guessing you
Sub
guys probably...
3%.
How much?
Sub 3%.
Sub 3. I was just going to say, I was like, it's probably less than 3% on what your mortgage is, which is fantastic. Like now it's what, over 5?
I think it's like 6.
6? Over 6?
And then maybe a year ago it was 7, but the feds are continuously trying to
working on that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, it's amazing how you guys are just like, this is... But it's also really good timing too, because you did some comparison shopping. You're like, buying a place is going to be better than renting. Who would have not known? So what money stories did each of you bring into the marriage, and how did you introduce them?
I think we each have different backgrounds when it comes to money.
Mm-hmm.
My background for money is everything I know about money I learned from my parents, and they've always been frugal. This idea of eating out every day and spending money on what you want was never really an option when we were growing up. When I was younger, we would never, like, I wouldn't say never, but we wouldn't go eat out at restaurants like ever unless it was like someone's birthday. And in that case, we could go eat out. So this idea of like stopping by McDonald's after school or something like that didn't happen. I only got to enjoy those small bits of like going to like McDonald's and things like that when I was spending time with like our friends' parents, and they were like, oh, let's go here. So growing up, we would always eat it, and I sort of just took in that mentality where it's like, why would I go out to eat somewhere when I know how to cook the food at home? I'm not a CEO who's super busy, who doesn't have any time in my life, and I have the time to do this, so that there really is no convenience that I'm saving by eating out.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's sort of how I look at it, and then from there, I'm not saying we don't eat out. So, like, we eat out sometimes, especially in places where like I just don't know how to cook the meals. Like, pho is one of Natalie's favorites, so we definitely pho is one thing that is an exception, just because I just don't know how to make it. But yeah, that idea of eating out has been super foreign to me, and sometimes Natalie gets mad at me for this same reason. Because
it just feels like Keldon is roasting me.
Because
let's just say Keldon is very frugal, and my upbringing was I grew up in a low income household for a while, where it was the same deal. It was a luxury to eat out, like no ordering drinks, but that manifested differently because I was like, oh, I know I never want to be poor again. Like I'm always kind of striving to increase my skills, to increase my income, because I don't ever want to be in a place like that.
Right.
So it's just manifested differently.
Yeah, right.
I think I focus, or I would like to focus more on like abundance versus like carving out that scarcity mindset that I've had to have for like the first few phases of my life.
Yeah, and that goes to like this idea of like a challenge I have with money, where it comes to the fact that I have a really bad time spending money on myself. And that's like, I'm a big fan of video games, so I'll play video games all the time. I will not buy, like, I will use these websites to find the cheapest game possible. And even though a game might only cost like $2, I won't make the push to buy that game. I'll wait. I'll think about it for a couple of days, and maybe I'll just consider it. But I always, and sometimes, not always, but I am envious of the fact that Natalie has this abundance where she feels like, oh, if it's a couple dollars here and there, I'm not going to stress about the small details. That's one thing that's really been a driver. Like, I can spend money on my wife and I can spend money on my dog, but I don't really like to spend money on myself.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's true. Like, I just think that why worry about like $1 or $2 or like less than 1% cost if you can focus on like the bigger things, like maxing out your investment or making good financial decisions, like increasing your income. Like if you can negotiate or increase your income somehow, and that leads to like making, I don't know, $20K a month more, like I'd rather focus on that and versus worrying about the small stuff.
Sure. I'm kind of in Keldon's chair on this one, because I grew up very similar, and I'm pretty frugal, and I have a tough time spending money on myself and doing things. And I've worked with a couple financial advisors, and one of the things he said to me was like, he used this as an example. He's like, I got a client who's in his, I think at the time, 60s or 70s. And he's like, he does similar things to what you're doing, where he doesn't spend much money. So the guy's a multimillionaire and just doesn't do much. And so the financial advisor is like, hey man, you got to start spending some money on yourself. You've got a ton of cash and you're not doing anything. Go out and live life, man. Not saying that you're not doing that, and I'm trying not to do that myself, but that's like, this guy was in his 70s, like 60s and 70s. And he just still was like that mindset. It's just like, he's like, so
Like it's never enough.
well, it's like, I don't want to spend it. I totally relate, because I'm like, I got to save. I can't really spend money because I got to have this nest egg for when I'm older and when I retire, and just kind of doing this thing of like, don't want to do that. And my girl's always like, it's okay to go on a vacation.
Yeah.
Let's go somewhere nice. You know, I'm like, okay. Yeah. We do this kind of stuff. And so, yeah, that always kind of sticks with me, because I'm, Keldon, just like you were. I'm like, I just don't. Do we need to go out? Really? No. Yeah.
No, yeah. When we go to like restaurants all the time, I'm always like, I look at the menu, I see the prices, I'm like, what's the cheapest thing I can buy for myself and still be full and also satisfied with what I ate? But like, one place I want, like you mentioned, this guy who was a millionaire or had millions, and he just didn't want to spend on himself. One like financial freedom thing that I want to get to at some point is this idea that I don't have to look at the prices on the menu. I just want to just like pick an item, not stress about it.
Yeah.
And you're definitely not there yet, but that's one thing I'm really shooting for. So that's one thing, like, that's the place I want to be. And I think with Natalie,
But he feels like he's not there yet. And that's subjective.
Yeah, sometimes she tells me, just do it. And I just do it, and I don't think about it. But then other times when I'm just by myself, I'll still think about that.
Is that something you admire from her, of just kind of this kind of guidance?
In certain situations, yes, I do admire this idea where these small things, don't fret about the small things.
And that it's okay to treat.
I do say genuinely, we're both frugal though. We're not eating out every day. We're not ordering takeout a lot, like maybe once or twice a year.
Yeah.
Like
we still follow like
like I'm right here. I'm doing that.
Yeah, we still follow.
We see you.
I know you. I know we're neighbors. So yes, I'm sure you do. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's this idea of the 50, 30, 20 rule. 50 for
50% for needs, 30% for wants, and 20% for savings or debt payoff.
Is that you that brought that up? I mean, is that you that?
No,
This is just
this is a budgeting method that most experts follow.
Who brought this in? Who came up with this for you guys?
It was never really anything that we brought up. It was just
I did bring it up. Okay. You learned about this concept from me.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. That's fair.
I found out about this.
Even though like this idea of this 50% for like needs, paying for your mortgage, paying for all those expenses, and then you got 30% for savings, right? Or is it
30% for wants?
And then 20% for savings. That part I don't fully agree with. Like I want to be in the mindset it's like more like 10% for wants and then 40% for savings. But
I mean, in this economy, it's very unrealistic for most people. Like, I think that isn't the average household only earning 80K, 60 to 80K here
Something
in
like
the
that.
US. And so with rising rent, rising house costs, they are spending probably 30, 40, 50% or more on rent and mortgage. We're in a privileged position where we're both earning six figures. And so our ratio is different. Like we are able to focus on investing and savings, but then how can the average American focus on that? I think there's perspective, like
yeah, definitely.
Yep. It's always kind of good. I think it would be helpful to let those that maybe aren't making like 2 or 300K, like what's a good way to start investing or to plan, especially as a young person, how, because that's like what you just brought up, the housing market is just atrocious for young people today. And your timing was great, to get into your place, and a lot of kids are like, it's just not going to work out right now. It's just out, houses are so expensive and the rates are so high. What's the point? But,
yeah, even though the value of our house has gone up a bit, this idea of selling our place to buy a bigger place is off the table currently, especially with interest rates so high. It's like we might as well just continue living in our current place, lower our monthly expenses as much as possible, and then maybe some point down the road we'll consider buying a new place. But yeah, that idea of
home ownership
and always trying to get the nicest and greatest thing, I don't think that really applies or we've decided that like we don't want to look for a bigger home now that we've been living in our place for like the last 5 years. Like, yeah.
So
unless we start a family.
Right. Is it something right now where, like, how do you guys, divide stuff up, and how do you join things up? Is it like what I earn, like 40% goes to this my pool where I can spend it any way I want, and then the rest goes into like a kitty, like where it's joint type of account, or what would you suggest for young couples that are newlyweds?
I'll let Natalie take over most of this question, but I just want to mention that like we have this thing called a SoFi bank account, which is split up into buckets, and we first focus on all the things we need to pay for, and then lastly we'll take a look at whatever money's left over, and we'll grab a percentage of it, and that goes to our fund money. Natalie was the one that came up with this idea, so I'll let you take it.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, there's no one size fits all solution for any couple. Like across all couples, like what works for one may not work for the other. For you said newly joined couples, like are you saying married couples?
Yeah, I'm like thinking newlyweds that are young, like around late 20s, and where they're just getting together and they're looking maybe to buy a place, or maybe they don't, or how is a good way, or what would you suggest would be a good way to have a couple join finances?
I mean, I think how we started off was pretty good, but it may not work for everyone, where we both had our separate accounts and we opened up a joint account in order to have like the shared goals, shared expenses. So we still had a separation of money that we can it's our money. We could spend it without asking, like there's no judgment, but also this money toward a shared future together. And that worked really well for both of us before we got married.
Yeah.
And I think it could work well for people even during marriage. Like it's I guess what I don't know, it's a trial and error.
Right.
You know, we've evolved and now everything is joint.
It really just came down to this idea of math, and it's like we didn't want to constantly be like taking a look at the numbers, like, oh, you spent this much this today on your credit card, and I spent this much on my credit card.
Yeah, like Venmoing back and forth, like those microtransactions. We're like, oh, if everything was just joined and we really think about money like together and have these conversations and boundaries, overall we would be bickering a lot less. And that's kind of why we ended up going the joint situation route. Yeah. And now every year we have a discussion on, okay, what are our saving goals for this year? Last year it was like, let's go build a baby fund. Let's go save up $10K for a travel fund. Let's make sure we have 12 months of emergency fund, like during this economy where so many people are like being laid off. And what we do is in SoFi, which is a high yield savings account banking platform, you can set up the vaults where you could split your money. And so what we do is every money all lands in there. And so the money can just have a reoccurring transfer to those buckets.
Right.
And so we're not manually moving around like that unless there's an off case where he gets a bonus or it's something unexpected where we have to decide, oh, how do we deal with this lump sum, what we want to do. But generally we try to automate things to protect ourselves from ourselves.
Which is brilliant. Yeah. It really sounds to me, just, in the few minutes we've been discussing about it, that you're both pretty open about finances. And that was discussed early on, like expectations were set early on in the relationship, which I think is really, really important for, I guess, a successful relationship to happen, because finances are usually like number one or number two cause of divorce. And being open and being transparent about finances and how much you're bringing in, and like there's no reason, like people like to hide finances, or this is like trying to be deceitful and all this kind of stuff, and it doesn't sound like, it sounds like you guys are quite open with everything, like financial wise.
I think
great.
The first like fight that we ever had was my expectation that a man should be paying for a lot of the dates. And so I'd be like, why aren't you taking me out? Like, why aren't you paying? And I just remember, like, I think I asked him this way too much, and he had a complete breakdown. Like, we were in the car, and he was like, I'm 25, and I have no money in my name. I have student loan debt. Like, you're not in the same situation. You got scholarship to go to school. And I don't know, like, his vulnerability made me understand, like, oh, this is why he is, like, this is why he's like this. Like, I grew up watching Disney, and it's like, you think a guy just should be the provider, Prince Charming, all that, but then reality sets, and it's like,
there's also the reality is like case. When I come home from work, I expect the whole house to be clean and all this stuff.
No, but I'm saying in the beginning of our relationship,
know.
like we were both college students, but the difference was you had student loan debt and you were 25 and I was 20, full scholarship. I didn't have any student loan debt. And so that gave me perspective. You know, I bring this up out of admiration because I really think that conversation has kind of led to these good financial decisions together. Like, oh, I didn't realize you were struggling so much with this and how this was such a big part of your identity. Yeah. Like, how can we improve this together?
This is really, I think, really important for people to understand, and like expectations from a young woman's perspective on, you know, a young man's, what he's going through. Like, again, I totally relate to what you're going through. In my early 20s, it was like I had financial debt. I was working midnight shifts. I was doing the whole thing to try and get through school. And it's like going out on a date was like, well, I've got $5 to buy a beer. That's about it.
Or pizza.
Yeah, it's like the pizza's going to be on you, honey, because I can buy a beer and I can split that with you. But I mean, I was just like you. It's like finances. I was just struggling, especially as a young guy. And you're trying to date. It's really, really difficult. And then there's that extra pressure of women who are like,
there's an expectation.
Yeah, where a lot of women are just like, hey, man, be chivalrous, pay for the first date, and all that kind of stuff. And so it's just good to be aware that these are some of the struggles men have. You know, we hear a lot online about, he's got to pay for the first date and all this and then it's getting to the point of where he's got to pay for like my makeup and all the lotion. And like,
It never got to that point. Let's just say that.
I'm not saying this is you, but the point being is like, it's great that you observe that, and it's great that you were vulnerable enough to talk about it, to say, hey, yeah, these are the struggles I have as a student, and to be like, hey, this is where I'm at. This is what's going on. And you're like, oh. And to accept that and be like, oh, I hear you now. And you were cool with it.
Yeah.
I mean,
sort of cool with it. She always brings it up
I'm trying
every single
Well, it's
thing.
just like I'm an elephant. Like I have a good memory. Like it does come up, but but I mean, generally we've accepted it. And then that conversation, we would have more like free dates where we would just be skateboarding, or we would go on, I don't know, just window shopping or eating at your house and you're making pizza for us.
Yeah, I like to cook, so if I can incorporate that into a date, that's the best way. Like one night we did fondue and we chocolate fondue.
Oh, wow. This is great too. It's still a fun date.
Oh, yeah.
It just doesn't have to be like, we need to go to a restaurant and we need to buy like 5 drinks. And then afterwards we need to go to another bar and like have a glass of wine. And it doesn't have to be very expensive, especially as a young adult.
It's like it was disassociating it, because for me, the way he was going about it, it made me think, oh, he doesn't like me that much. So it's like there's that, you know, it's like a psychology thing. But then we came up with all these ideas and I'm like, okay. Like,
see, that's brilliant. You're just like, hey, we don't have to spend a lot and still have a great time together. And go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to mention, even after we started dating and things like that, we continue this like idea of like free mentality and whatnot. Like we would go to Goodwill and things like that. It's in our as a dates, and we'll go shop together, we'll buy stuff, and then we'll try to figure out a way to like
flip it.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh my gosh.
Brilliant.
We were both working in Bellevue. Like he was working at T-Mobile. I was doing a contract at Microsoft, and we both would have to commute to the south, like Kent, Washington. He would be in Maple Valley. So traffic on the I-405 after work would be like 2 hours. But if we could spend 1 to 2 hours just like doing something north, then we can cut our commute to 30 minutes. So then it was like, okay, how can we optimize our time? How can we try to make money on top of our jobs? And we got into flipping for a while. And
it wasn't crazy profitable, but there were a couple.
There's some gems.
Yeah, there were some gems. Like one time I found an Artrix jacket listed for $20, and I was able to sell it for $180. So
see, that kind of makes it kind of fun. I mean,
and then we used that money. I think we did use that money for a date night or something like that. Didn't we?
I'm not sure.
Well,
but it's brilliant. It's like, hey, let's be entrepreneurs for a little bit on one date, and then the next night we're going to use those profits to go out and have fun and on something, we'll splurge on ourselves.
Yeah, it was a fun little thing, I'll say. I think that's a very unique story.
Yeah, we've definitely had some failed experiments as well. Like Natalie had
I invested in Beanie Babies. It didn't turn out.
But still, the whole thought of like, hey, let's just do this and try and do a flip and make see if we can make a few bucks out of it, and then we can use that money to go have some fun. I mean, the big, if you take a step back and look at the process, and how you guys got together to do that kind of stuff. And you guys like, yeah, that sounds like fun. And you have experiences and memories on that. That's fantastic. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Good times.
Great times. Yeah. My wife's always been a big side hustler. Like she'll try to find how to make money in any small like niche market and whatnot. Right. And yeah, this was just another way that I could help her feel that passion. And yeah.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. If this episode is giving you real practical value, hit like and drop a quick review. It helps more people dealing with the same financial stress find conversations like this. Let's continue. So do you believe couples should combine finances, keep them separate, or do a hybrid, and why?
It really depends on the couple. You can't say more than that, honestly, because of the fact that every couple is a little bit different. Some people have financial issues that they don't want to bring up. Other people...
Different philosophies. A lot of people are bringing a lot of money stories, scripts, and philosophies from their upbringing into the relationship. One person, I mean, it kind of like us, one person could be like super frugal and another person can be in the extreme as like a super spender. And like that is why there is no one size fits all, you know.
And there's this openness. Sometimes couples don't want to talk about how much finances they have or how much money they currently are making compared to the other person. And there's also these different things like what if one partner is making more money than the other partner? A lot of issues can appear. And we also had to face these sort of things when we were dating. Like at some point, I was making more money than her, and we had to like figure out what was
like
the correct...
what is equity? Like what is fair in that situation?
Who's paying more of the mortgage? And then like vice versa. Sometimes she was making more money than me, and we have to like reconsider the values and things like that. So,
it's very fluid. Yeah. Income is very fluid. It can change from...
And it can be hard for some couples to deal with this for sure. And, sometimes people think that they deserve more of the pie, and that can create some issues in its own rights.
Yeah, we've had to iterate a lot, and we've had to kind of discuss what we thought wasn't like what wouldn't be a problem. Like it is a constantly evolving thing. But it is very important to be open and transparent.
Yes.
It is very stressful if one person is being deceiving or doesn't want to talk about it because they have an avoidant personality.
Right.
And it's important to talk about this, especially before marriage, because once you're married in a lot of states,
Especially Washington.
Like Washington, everything after the marriage is community property. Everything gets split 50-50. And so for a couple to even consider a prenup is, I think, a good decision because...
I'm sorry to interject. Can you repeat that one more time, young lady? Talk about the prenup one more time? Because I don't think a lot of women out there may have heard that correctly. Go ahead. Sorry.
Go on.
I think...
It is important for not only men, but women to consider getting a prenup. And it's important because in a lot of states, even if you don't get one, you will be getting one from the state.
Right.
And I think that's the important distinction to make. A lot of women think like, oh, it's so not sexy. Like, my man doesn't trust me. Like, you know, but it's also important to know a lot of women are working now and making their own money. And it's like, it's just about protection and fairness, especially no one decides in a marriage that they're going to get a divorce. And so to have this conversation when you're in the right mindset and, you know, thinking about it from how can we make things both fair, that's how it should be.
Right. Right. Yeah, that approach is fantastic. I mean, it's almost like it's just a safety net. It's just an insurance policy. I've always said it's not a reflection of a trust value or anything to that effect. It's just saying, hey, this is just so we're both safe. If anything happens to where it doesn't work out, we can separate and it'll be amicable. It's like it'll minimize the amount of stress and frustration and conflict
later.
If that might happen where you two split up. So I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, and the
I
prenup
also
also
it was funny.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I think it was funny when we were going through this situation where we got a prenup together because then, you know, you have to put in all of your assets and debts before the relationship versus the ones that are commingled. And then it becomes like a balance sheet.
Right.
And our number came up as like a very similar amount. And so it just worked out for us.
Yeah.
It was just funny.
Yeah.
The prenup is also a really good thing if you have things like a pet or something like that, because
Or kids.
Yeah, you can write down in the contracts like who gets what. And with our situation, we started dating, and before we got married, we bought a dog together. But Natalie put down
I paid for the dog.
100%.
It was my decision to get a dog.
This is defined as a DINK wad.
Dinkwad, double income, no kids with a dog.
Yes.
Just throwing it out there. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, and then pretty much my rule was Natalie can keep the dog as long as she takes care of all the chores, and I don't have to worry about picking up any poo or anything like that. And then over the first couple of months, yes, it worked out fine, but it slowly started to integrate into our life, and it got to a point where it's like I'm paying for bills and all these other things as well, and I agreed if we're going to get married that I think the dog should be 50-50 going forward. And or if not going forward,
let's repeat that one. Shared custody on the
shared custody of the dog. Yes. So if we ever got divorced,
the dog.
we get to keep the dog 50-50, so it's gonna be moving from place to place.
Right.
But yeah, in our case, that was one of our things. But it could be as something as simple as like if you bought a car prior to the marriage and you want to make sure that you have a mode of transportation after the marriage,
That's your car.
write that down. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's important things about like, oh, what about like if we do have a kid? Like, what does that look like? You know, who's paying for the kid's expenses? And those are important things covered in the prenup. So I think that it was a good decision on both of our ends.
Yeah, I was going to say it actually helps you kind of predetermine how to financially, I don't want to say invest, but spend money on whatever might come up, an animal, children, whatever. You both already have that. I'd like to say it's a boundary of like, we both understand this is what we're going to be doing and this is how much we're going to spend on it. I mean, that's really, really important, especially for the longevity of a relationship. That's fantastic. Yeah. So how do you two stay connected emotionally when life gets busy or stressful?
Well, yeah, life is always busy. There's no way around that. So, but we try to make an effort to have dinner together every night. Some nights we don't, just because things come up, schedules are conflict, but one thing we try to prioritize is this idea of eating together, and it's something that I want to continue to pass down, even if we do have kids down the road, and that's why it's Dinky or Dink Wads. Yeah.
Dinkies, double income, no kids yet.
Yes, Dinkies, yes.
Because of the fact that when I was growing up, it was also the same thing where dinner with the family was a must. You could not skip it, or it was very unlikely that you would skip eating as a family, and I felt that lets us connect emotionally in a sense.
Yeah, because we both decompress and talk about our days.
We can take a moment away from our phones. We can just focus on each other.
Is there a rule at the dinner table like no talking finances?
No, everything's off the table.
Everything's on the table.
Everything's on the table. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Maybe we should implement that as like a rule.
You're welcome.
It sounds like that's advice from life experience.
Well, at the dinner table is always kind of a good. I don't want to. I'm not good at the family thing and dinner table stuff, but it always turns out to be something where things come up to where, someone might be struggling with one thing, like the child might be struggling with one thing, and it's always good to get 2 cents worth from like an adult that might have some experience to help guide the child or whatever. But, talking about finances and, you need to plan for this and stuff. I mean, both of you have already established this agreement of like, hey, we're going to be doing this with finances, we're going to be doing that. There's going to be, it doesn't sound like there's going to be any surprises to where someone's going to go, you did what with what? That kind of thing. It's like you guys already have like a pretty open relationship as far as it goes to finances. Yeah. Like there's no hidden things. You guys pre-plan things. There's already an understanding, which is already, you guys are already like miles ahead of everybody else. It's just gotten married and they're like, well, I don't have a prenup. Now we really don't talk about finances. And so there really won't be any surprises later on.
Unless one of us gets cancer, then that could really derail our financial picture. Like I think about that a lot.
And the relationship, maybe? That is a tough, not like it's going to be like, okay, this is over, but it's more of like, that's to be a caregiver for someone who's
always asked me that, like, what if I turn into a potato? Would you still love me? And I'm like, yes, I'll still
I think every woman asks that of their...
No, but because context-wise, like my grandma, she had a stroke that was completely debilitating, where as soon as she had that stroke, she was a healthy person. She could not talk. She could not walk. She I think through therapy, she learned how to use one of her arms to eat.
Yep.
But for the rest of her life, she was a vegetable, like, and so, and that's a lot of money too. Like insurance won't cover like the cost of hospitals and all that. Like we've saved 12 months of emergency. I guess I just want to address that like like a big medical issue could derail our picture. And so that's why we need to think about like, like the best coverage and best insurance and things like that. But
which is important as well. I mean, to prepare for as much as you can, because these things can happen. A loved one getting hurt is like, okay, everything's kind of like, we have to reevaluate what's going on. Because being a caregiver and someone that's been debilitated and everything kind of shuts down, income is completely, changed up. Yeah, it's like, how are we going to redo this? Yeah, that's a life-changing event, definitely.
Yeah, it does help that we have an emergency fund. Like Natalie mentioned, we have 12 months emergency fund, but that also applies to like medical expenses. If something really big comes up, that will help create a dent in the expenses. Right. And hopefully one less thing that we have to worry about. So like if Natalie, maybe not potato level, but like if Natalie, like breaks her arm, or if I have to get an ER surgery or something like that, we know that we're slightly covered in that sense. Like there might be some more expensive things, but it will cover a portion of that, and that'll put less burden on us going forward.
I also helped. So, every year there's open enrollment for electing your health benefits. I didn't realize that Keldon wasn't electing the plan where you can get a health savings plan, health savings account. Yep. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's like a triple tax advantage account where you can invest your dollars. And if there is a big emergency expense, you can use those funds for medical expenses. Yeah. And so I think that's a great idea.
Do you know the restrictions on that? Because I thought there was something like you have to spend it within a year. Like you can't have something carry over, or is that incorrect?
I think that's a different account you're thinking about. But health savings account,
HSA, yeah.
HSA, so it rolls over every year, I believe. Okay. But maybe you should fact check this and edit this over.
Check out your own employer and see what they say about HSA.
And it's really nice because your employer also contributes some dollars to it. Yeah. So T-Mobile, I think they offer $1,000. It is a plan where I think you have to have an insurance policy or insurance plan where, where high deductible, where we're not old yet. We're not.
You guys have plenty of time.
We're not going to the hospital every week or every month, and so our expenses. I think we set
the deductible to like $1,000 or something like that, just because like this idea of going to like an ER or something like that is
less likely at our age.
Yeah, right. So we don't really care so much. And then if it is $1,000 or something like that, like that's why we have an emergency fund. It's meant to cover these small things. We want to have a higher deductible so we have a lower monthly cost for insurance.
Of course.
Yeah, it works.
So real quick, last question. If people have questions for you and they want to follow up, what's the best way to contact you?
For Natalie, it's really simple. She has a social media, and if you need to get in contact with me or anything, just go through her because she's definitely...
And what's your social media?
So my social media on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube is Invest with Nat.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. Any final thoughts?
No.
Okay.
This was a lot of fun.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you guys. Yeah, appreciate it. So Natalie and Keldon showed what it looks like to build a financial foundation from scratch, honestly and intentionally. If you're in the same season, subscribe so you don't miss more conversations that help you get smarter with your relationships. Thank you for listening. Keep building and keep moving forward.